Okay, why was the Federal Reserve created? I want to hide this one here. Why was the Federal Reserve created? I don't hear you. Okay. I'll give you their answer. Number one, stabilize the economy. And number two, protect the value of the dollar. Right, I think it was 1907, there was a major panic. And that was the 9/11. Like the 9/11 was the impetus behind the Patriot Act. The panic of 2007 was the impetus behind the Federal Reserve Act. And it was a major setback. Murray Rothbard was the source of a lot of my knowledge right here. He wrote that, panics are not a bad thing, they're a good thing. Because a lot of banks did just what the Federal Reserve does today. They issued notes in excess of their reserves, and if they were healthy, they could survive the panic. If they weren't healthy, they went out of business, and that was a good thing because it left the stronger financial institutions in place to better serve the market, and it got rid of the crooks. So, throughout our history, the banks did issue banknotes and did have their own little mini boomlets and busts that came along the way. But anyway, that was used to justify the existence of the Federal Reserve. But in terms of stabilizing the economy, we've got 17 major downturns, 17 significant downturns, including the Great Depression, and what I am convinced will become the second Great Depression that we're in right now. And the value of the dollar has gone down approximately 97% since 1913. So using their own standards, the Federal Reserve has failed. Is there anybody here who disagrees with that? Okay, my answer as to why the Federal Reserve was created was to enhance the power of government and allow the government greater political participation in the economy and to increase the wealth and power of the international bankers. Here's your cue back there, gentlemen. Now I'm going to have this, I'm sorry I forgot his name, but the nice young man in the back of the room here. G. Edward Griffin wrote this book called The Creature of Jekyll Island. And here's a list of the people who were at the meeting where the future of the Federal Reserve was decided in 1910. Go ahead and read that list.
Nelson W. Aldrich, who was the Republican whip in the Senate. He was also chairman of the National Monetary Commission, business associate of J.P. Morgan, and the father-in-law to John D. Rockefeller Jr. Abraham Hyatt Andrew was the next person. He was the assistant secretary to the U.S. Treasury. The third person was Frank Vanderlip, president of the National City Bank of New York, which was the most powerful bank at the time. He also represented William Rockefeller and the International Investment Banking House of the Logan Company. The fourth person was Henry Davidson, senior partner of the J.P. Morgan Company. The fifth person was Charles Norton, president of J.P. Morgan's First National Bank of New York. The sixth was Benjamin Strong, head of J.P. Morgan's Bankers Trust Company. And the last person was Paul Warburg, a partner in the Logan Company, and he was also a representative of the Rothschild banking dynasty in England and France, and brother of Max Warburg, who was head of the Warburg Banking Consortium in Germany and the Netherlands.
So did the international bankers have anything to do with the creation of the Federal Reserve? I don't know, it sounds like a conspiracy theory to me. But, if that's a conspiracy, I believe it is. I mean, you either have to believe that, we are where we are because of some logical results of what other people have done before, but we got here by accident. There's no reason for anything. Everything that happens is an accident. And, the conspiracy might not be as monolithic and it might not be as powerful, but man, there are people that want to overtake. They want to rule the world. It's as simple as that. They want to rule the world. They want to destroy this government. They want to take away the wealth of the common people here. And they want to concentrate wealth and power in a world government. And there's a quote I have from David Rockefeller who says exactly that. He points out, I don't have it with me, but he thanks the New York Times and a bunch of other folks, maybe folks have seen this quote, for their participation in their meetings and for keeping it secret. And he said the time for secrecy is over. You know, the time for world government is now. We don't need to be secret about it anymore. That's David Rockefeller. You know, are we, you know, what motivation would he have to say that if it's not true? We're almost done here. Alrighty. Okay, I can't remember where I am. Well, I'll just throw them up here. I got confused. Here's another interesting quote. William Boyce, economic professor at the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University, estimates that the government now owns or controls businesses that generate about 1/3 of the U.S. economic activity. Washington Times, July 7, 2009. Hey, that's today. Wow. How is that possible? How is it possible that our federal government owns or controls 1/3 of our economy? Where is it written in the Constitution that they have the authority to do this? Who authorized that? There's only two reasons that this happened. Number one, we ignored the Constitution, and number two, because of the actions of the Federal Reserve to facilitate that happening. Our wealth is being stolen from us by our own government and the Federal Reserve. Now, I think the better thing to have done would be to let GM, let Chrysler fail. Let investors pick their bones, keep the government out of it. And all they're doing is they're taking wealth from the rest of us, those of us who are still making a little bit of money, and they're throwing it down a rat hole, driving us deeper into a depression, dissipating more of our wealth. And are they done? I submit that they're not. You know, if they've got 1/3 of it now in just 4 months' time, where are they going from here? Maybe they're after the other 2/3 of our economy. This is terrible.
AIG, where they've given them like close to $200 billion now, and there really aren't any assets, unlike GM and Chrysler. At least there's factories and automobiles and stuff that are physical assets.
Yeah, they can melt down the iron. There's not much iron that AIG is. Or,
no.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Bob, right? Glad you brought that up. You know, a while back, the newspapers were fanning the flames over the fact that AIG executives got a raft of bonus money. And that money came pretty much in a direct route from my pocket to theirs, from your pockets to theirs. And at the time, people were wondering how could this happen? And even Mr. Dodd made a little fuss over how it could happen. You know, Senator Dodd, who's on the committee that decides such things. Well, it was later revealed that Mr. Dodd put in the exact verbiage that allowed it to happen. So if that SOB is elected, there's something wrong with the people of Connecticut. Re-elected, there's something wrong with the people of Connecticut. And we have to shout it from the rooftops, you know, make it known what crooks these people are. You know, so he's taken from folks who are barely bumping by, just paying a little bit of income tax, and giving it to the wealthy fools that helped to destroy this country. It's terrible. Pardon I didn't mean to get so emotional here, but I just get carried away on some of the stuff after a while. Recent Fed actions. On top of the $2 trillion that went to, $2 trillion basically, since October 1 last year, the Federal Reserve has also created at least another $9 trillion out of nothing. But we don't have the right to know where this money's going, what banks are getting it. I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be the local savings and loan that's going to get it. It's going to be the big bankers, who are the heirs and descendants of the folks that were read off of that list. They're the people that are going to get this money. And again, it's going to dig us a deeper hole.